There's nothing like a good survival game to make your blood rush and spending hours at a time exploring the beautiful landscape and completing missions. It was hard to rate these games as all of them are amazing and unique in their own way. It was also hard to narrow down the list to just 10 games. If you're looking for a top quality survival game that tests your combat and problem solving skills, then you'll enjoy this following list. Be sure you stay through to the end. The final game might come as a surprise to you. Number 10, The Forest. There's no shortage of survival game, but The Forest manages to stand out. You and up to 8 friends are dropped in a mysterious forest after a plane crash. The goal is to survive. Look for your son and other passengers. This, however, isn't the average survival game that requires you to build shelter, find weapons, and fight back zombie attacks. Chop down a tree for shelter, explore the underground network of caves and lakes, protect your perimeter, and get lost in the dark. Let's say you've managed to familiarize yourself with your surroundings and built something resembling shelter. You figured out you can scavenge for food or grow it, found weapons, figure out how to survive attacks from your enemy. The mutants are cleverly designed and their AI studies you before attacking you and then changes and improves their strategy. The monsters here aren't mindless, brain-hungry zombies. They're described as genetic mutant enemies with morals and beliefs that are almost human. The forest has a very complex layout and often has an eerie atmosphere that has you jumping at every little sound. Number 9, Subnautica. Become submerged in an exotic alien world. If you watch Jaws and have been wary of the open water, beware. In this wide, exotic, and deceivingly beautiful landscape, you're most likely to die drowning than of a monster attack. The graphics and sights are to die for, so much so that you can keep playing for hours without getting further in the storyline. Survive in an open world game by unknown worlds that grips you out of a crashed starship and plunges you into its alien waters. Find water, food, weapons, shelter, swim with the fish, explore fascinating and nerve-wracking caves and shipwrecks. Once you've done enough exploring, find a way off the planet. Subnautica plays on most people's fears of the deep, never-ending ocean, and claustrophobia. It makes you jump at every sound because you know the treacherous waters are particularly unwelcoming at night. It makes you fall in love with its detailed landscape, only to have those beautiful sights turn on you later. Some battles you can't find your way out of. The seemingly invulnerable predators sometimes require you to use your wits and hide like a champion. Number 8, Rust. Everything is trying to kill you in this multiplayer survival game. Or so Rust's official site claims. In truth, the game's even more exciting than that. Not only are you fighting nature's cruel elements and the need for water, food, and shelter, which you have to build using a rock, you get to interact with the rest of the players. Not that those interactions are always pleasant. The rule of thumb is to assume everyone's an enemy except for the rare kind soul you might stumble upon or if you're playing with your friends. Killing and stealing each other's stuff is a given way to survive in this game. The game makes use of voice chat feature, and you can hear conversations between the other players if you come near them. A single server can have over 400 people playing. That is a lot of trash talk. In order to survive, you of course have to acquire weapons beyond a rock, and to build, you have to find blueprints, which can prove to be a difficult task. It's a very competitive environment and requires patience to succeed. Number 7, Pathologic 2. Are you ready to be the chief local healer? The last one is dead, and it's up to you to take his place. That's the premise for the sequel and the re-imaging of the original 2005 video game Pathologic. Pathologic 2 is a very intense, narrative-driven video game about a town overcome with a deadly plague. This is an enemy you can't physically fight, as it's a malicious air that hovers over the town and infects its residents. 12 days are all you have to uncover the town's secret and prove your innocence against a murder claim. It's your job to befriend potential allies and steal if you must. While trying to stay away from disease and those who are sick, you also have to watch your levels of hunger and thirst to avoid starving to death or dying of thirst. It's easy to shoot at zombies, but here your enemy is a disease that turns the very air poisonous. Even a loaf of bread in an infected person's house can prove to be fatal. Number 6, The Raft. Survive on the bare minimum with 3 main enemies: hunger, thirst, and a relentless bloodthirsty shark. In this indie video game, you can play alone or with your friend. Your character awakens on a small raft, parched and with a growling stomach. As you sit on your floating raft in the big, wide, no land in sight open ocean, you have to find a way to survive. Use a hook to catch and pull debris and other materials toward you to extend your raft, or dive in the ocean for supplies and craft your own weapons, equipment, and crops. For those who suffer from galiophobia, which is the fear of sharks, or thalassophobia, which is fear of being in deep water, and fear from sea waves, creatures, and the general looming emptiness of the water, might benefit from Raft, which many players use as a tool to overcome their fear. Number 5. Frostpunk. Step up to become the leader of the world's last city in the society survival game. In the bleak landscape of Frostpunk, climate change has damaged our Earth almost beyond repair. It's up to you to form a society. Here, the greater good is problematic, as you're tasked with decisions that weigh heavily on the conscience but are ultimately better for your city. One decision you make might have long-lasting consequences or will blindside you later. This game tests your empathy with some of the most difficult choices. In your quest to build a habitable, sustainable society, you must be able to provide food, shelter, power, and other necessities to your citizens. Frostpunk is a very high pressure and intense game. The city building is complicated and requires patience. Diplomacy and a knack for politics will aid you against the angry inhabitants of your city. If you don't do right by them, by keeping them happy, fed, and warm, they might overthrow you and toss you out of your very own city. Number 4. Don't Starve. Don't Starve is notoriously ruthless. It proudly presents itself as a game that doesn't hold your hand, provides you with no instructions, and as per the title, leaves you to starve in an unfamiliar world that hates you and tries to kill you. Oh, and if you die, it's the end of the road for you. Don't Starve, graphics wise, has a very unique, almost Tim Burton-esque theme. Your character is Wilton, a gentleman scientist who's dropped in the cruel wilderness with the single instruction you receive: get food before nightfall. If that's not foreboding enough, you have to find a light source for the nightmare. There are hunger, health, and sanity gauges that you must maintain while defending yourself from the strange creatures and running for your life. Go on side missions and learn the backstories and gain an understanding of the inner works of the world. The gameplay majorly involves crafting, as you'll have to scavenge around and pick up raw materials to build weapons. You can't sit still. You'll need to find a balance between farming, venturing out, exploring, and gathering. Number 3. State of Decay 2. If you're tired of surviving on your own and the endless monster fighting, State of Decay 2 focuses more on community. In this open world survival fantasy zombie infested game, survive on a day-to-day basis while simultaneously taking care of the needs of your companies. Ammunition is often scarce, but the weapons are powerful and leave you satisfied with the results. Each character is incredibly detailed and has its own skills, quirks, personalities, quests, and storylines that affect the ending of the game. Pick those survivors along your journey in what look like a modern small town set just after the apocalypse. Fight off feral zombies, go on supply runs out of your community, treat zombie bites, and try to rid the world of the disease known as the Blood Plague. Number 2. Stalker Call of Pripyat. Stalker Call of Pripyat is the third installment in the Shadow of the Chernobyl series, picking up right where its predecessor left off. It's a haunting game, full of suspense and adrenaline rush-inducing events. As Agent Alexander, you're tasked to investigate the disappearance of military helicopters in an area called The Zone, a line near the Chernobyl power plant. It's a highly contaminated area and is inhabited by stalkers and hunters looking for treasures and artifacts. The very environment is hostile, as traps adorn the land, spit fire at you, and terrifying monsters lurk in this lawless, abandoned city. Besides needing food, weapons, gear, and medical supplies, Call of Pripyat provides more challenges in the form of new, powerful monsters like the Chimera and the malevolent telepathic dwarves, not to mention the radiation levels you need to watch out for. Number 1. Minecraft. Now, Minecraft is a mother of all survival games. It's the original, and it never grows old or tiresome. It's enormously successful and is currently the best-selling video game of all time. And yes, the graphics are charming and timeless. With no storytelling or anything of the sort, the world is somewhat your oyster. Find food to keep your hunger levels up. Find materials and build shelter and improve that shelter until it becomes a home, and eventually a mansion if you have the patience and time investment. for the ever-generating landscape of oceans, mountains, and forests. Hang out with friendly, cuddly animals like horses, cows, or maybe eat them if you have a taste for them. This game is full of threats, as enemies such as zombies, horrendous spiders, and creepers are always around. Protect yourself, your animals, explore the wide landscape of the game, and defend the village that you've worked so hard to build. Alrighty gamers, that's gonna wrap it up for this list. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to let us know so we can keep putting out videos just like this one by clicking the like button. You might also want to hit the subscribe button and that notification bell while you're at it, since we are always releasing new content. Let us know your thoughts on the video down in the comment section. As always, we'll see you on the next one.